they're only going to prosecute it one way.
Yeah, it's a dangerous slope to go down for that to be your standard. The House impeachment managers just about an hour ago showed this violent surveillance footage that is new, showing Capitol rioters, some of their actions. But, you know, Don, they keep showing the actions of the mob, which we have all said were horrific and not okay. But they're not making the case of how this directly ties back to your father. Does that bother you?
Well, they're not making that case because it doesn't, right? By that logic, we would take the last 10 months and you would take the $1 billion worth of damage in looting, in rioting, in arson, in murder that took place across the country with the BLM riots and the Antifa riots, and you have the words of Kamala Harris, you have the actions of their campaigns bailing out criminals, you have the words of Maxine Waters, you'll get up in their face, Nancy Pelosi, everyone. Again, they only want to have sort of selective memory as it relates to these things. We've all denounced what happened on January 6th. No one hasn't, okay? That doesn't mean that then by their rules that they would be absolved of 10 months of January 6th that happened across the entire country, right? Federal buildings were stormed. You saw that during, I guess it was during the Ginsburg stuff. You had stuff that happened during Kavanaugh. You had everything else, all insurrected by the Democrats and by their rhetoric on TV, yet that doesn't seem to be a problem. And I'm not saying it should be, frankly. I don't think that every time that someone says something, we should be able to tie back irresponsible actions of a couple lunatic players and say we got to blame the person saying it. But why is it that the Democrats are allowing that? Why is it that they're pushing it? Why is the media okay with having that singular standard for one individual and a different standard for everyone else? It's ridiculous.
It is. It's weird. So when you watch these other media channels, which I hope people don't, you hear the anchors say, Republicans engage in whataboutism. They keep talking about this. And they're right. Because to your point, Don, the Democrats say the same thing. They face no consequences. They face no repercussions. And yet they go, but when Donald Trump says something, it's totally different because that must have incited somebody. When they did it, well, we can't talk about that because that's out of bounds.
Yeah, well, what was it last week?